Last week I played through Pokemon Yellow with its official starter, Pikachu, and it was honestly not very fun, but this week I'm going to take on the game with what could have been the Pokemon series' mascot, Clefairy. This cute little pink metronome fairy thing is just so adorable, and I think I honestly would have preferred it as the mascot of the series. So today it's going to get its chance at revenge, and I'll compare the results between it and Pikachu at the end of this video. Let's go. Here are the rules for today's challenge, and I've also left a detailed copy of them in the description of the video so you can reference them later on. I use the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to replace Pikachu with Clefairy. It starts off with Pound and Growl, which is honestly a really good moveset for it at the beginning of the game. Pound's a 40 power normal move, and it gets Stab, the same type attack bonus, which is a 1.5 times damage multiplier. It makes the first rival fight just a complete breeze. Clefairy's stats are kind of a mixed bag. It's got good HP and special, it's got decent attack and defense for a first stage Pokemon that is, and has just awful speed and an awful critical hit rate. Making up for these deficiencies though is the fact that Clefairy's learn set is incredibly diverse. Look at all these moves. Beyond the fact that it has access to a move of almost every single type, it also gets some of the most powerful Generation 1 moves: Body Slam, Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, and Psychic. Honestly, is anything else even required to have a successful playthrough of Generation 1? I don't think so. One learn set deficit though is that Clefairy doesn't learn any good moves that it will help against Brock. Pound, Growl, Sing, these are really not going to help. You might think that Sing is going to be great, but actually Brock has 5 full heals that he can use for each one of his Pokemon, so that's a total of 10 full heals. With how inaccurate Sing is, I'm just not going to be able to put them to sleep with good enough consistency to have that strategy work out. So today I'm going to have to grind all the way until Double Slap. I actually did test this in a playthrough before I did this playthrough, and it wasn't possible to beat Brock with Sing alone. So if that's in the back of your mind and you're curious about that, I tried it and it really doesn't work. Because I want to make this Pokemon challenge, well, challenging, I want to face the rival when his team has a Jolteon. And so in order to set that up, I'm going to have to defeat him at the optional location today. In order to do that, I really like to be around level 9 or 10 with the Pokemon that I have. That ensures that I can get through both the Spearow and the Sand attacking Eevee with ease. My strategy for Brock is pretty simple. I want to use Double Slap right away to knock out the Geodude as fast as possible. The reason that I'm doing this right away instead of using Sing or any status moves is that the Sing is going to be invalidated by Brock's 5 full heals that he can use for Geodude, and the stat altering moves will only allow Geodude to deal more damage to me and whittle me down for Onix later on. Turns out it's nice because Double Slap can actually hit more than 2 times despite being called Double Slap, so I get some really good hits here along the way and then I knock the Geodude out in 7 turns. Double Slap here is doing a lot less damage even with a critical hit, and then Onix starts to use Bide. I can use Sing here to actually delay the fight. However, there's a weird thing about Bide in Generation 1, which is if you put the Onix to sleep while it's in Bide, it will actually stay asleep and stay in the status of accumulating damage from Bide. So if you hit it while it's asleep, it'll actually deal back damage to you with Bide. I didn't know this, so I actually used Sing a bunch, then I used Growl, and after that when Onix woke up, it unleashes energy and it hits me for some damage. So that's pretty unfortunate. At this point my PP for Double Slap has completely run out, so there's no more slapping the Onix. Just gotta go to Pound Town, and then Onix traps me in a bind. It hits me for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 turns in total. After that, Onix tries to use Bide again, I switch into Growl and lower Onix's attack, then I try Sing. It doesn't work this time, but that's okay. After that, I'm back to pounding the Rock Hard Snake. I think that I've got this now because my health is pretty good, and then Onix goes into a Bide, and it's within range that 2 more of my pounds just knock it out. So I've defeated Brock with Clefairy, and honestly it got a pretty good time. Now let's move on to Mount Moon. In Mount Moon there are actually a lot of really good items for Clefairy, the first being the TM for Water Gun. This is my first special move, and it's going to be great against the upcoming rival. Then after that I pick up the HP up. Clefairy has a great HP stat, so this gives a good boost. I grab the rare candy, I skip the escape rope, it's not actually useful in yellow, and then I pick up the TM for Mega Punch, which is fantastic for Clefairy because it's a normal type move. After the stab modifier, it's got 120 power. I use it to defeat the Super Nerd with ease, and then grab the Dome Fossil. All hail the Dark Lord. In Cerulean City, I pick up 4 repels. I'm going to need these for Rock Tunnel. After that, I grab the hidden rare candy, and then I take on the second rival. This fight's really easy today because I've got Mega Punch. It allows me to speed through all of his normal type Pokemon, and Water Gun makes Sandshrew an easy knockout as well. Nugget Bridge is next, and honestly, there isn't very much for me to say here. Clefairy's just doing a really great job with this portion of the game. I was kind of concerned with the trainer that has a Mankey. It knows Low Kick, and that's a fighting type move, but it ends up not being that scary and I take it out with ease. Misty's next. She opens with Staryu and it outspeeds with Water Gun, dealing around 8% damage to Clefairy. I use Mega Punch in retaliation and it knocks the Starfish out. Starmie's next. It comes out, uses Harden, raises its defense, and then I use Sing in an attempt to put it to sleep, but it fails. Starmie uses Water Gun, dealing around 1/6 damage, and then I use Sing again, but again it fails. Misty uses an X defend, so Starmie's getting really hard now, and then I use Sing again. But it fails again. I can't believe 3 Sings in a row. This move is awful. Starmie then uses Harden again. Okay, so there's definitely a trend here. And then finally my Sing puts it to sleep. Okay, that's good. I start using Mega Punch and it's doing around 1/5 damage with each hit. I land 3 and then Starmie wakes up. But this is Generation 1, so it can't attack this turn. I land a 4th Mega Punch, and with that Starmie's in red health. So it uses Tackle, gets a critical hit, but I'm not worried. And after that, Mega Punch connects and Starmie faints. So, honestly, that was a pretty sloppy fight. I probably should have just gone for Mega Punch right away and spammed the Starmie down. Between Cerulean and Vermilion, I'm really hoping that a Spearow or a Pidgey is going to show up so that I can catch a flying Pokemon, but unfortunately it doesn't. Then I have to face the trainer with the 3 sand attacking Pidgeys. But today she's pretty easy because I've got Mega Punch on my side. On the SSN, I pick up the TM for Rest. Really, this is just extra safe play because I don't think that I'm going to need it later on, but it's worth having just in case. After that, I pick up Body Slam, and this is going to be my go-to stab move for the rest of the run. 30% chance to paralyze just can't be passed up. I pick up the Gentleman Candy. After that, the third rival is very easy because now I've got Body Slam. This move is so good, especially when it gets Stab. Surge is next. He opens with Raichu and it goes for Thunderbolt right away, dealing around 40% damage. I use Body Slam and it paralyzes Raichu after doing 50% damage. So that's pretty good. Next turn I go for Body Slam and oh my gosh, it almost knocked the Raichu out. But it survives and uses Mega Kick. But luckily it misses. With that, I move again, use Body Slam and knock it out. So Surge was an easy win as usual. Honestly, I think if I had leveled up one more time, it would have just been much better and more consistent because I would have knocked him out with 2 attacks. On my way to Rock Tunnel, I have to face the Rapping Lass, and today I just one-hit all over Pokemon. Well, that felt really good after the last few runs. I teach Thunderbolt to Clefairy to knock out the Slowpoke in Rock Tunnel. After that, I use Body Slam on all of the junior trainers' grass types, and I didn't even save for the Hiker because I can just use Water Gun to speed through all of his Pokemon with ease. Honestly, my moveset right now is really fantastic, but it's about to get even better, because in Celadon I get access to the TM for Ice Beam, and this is going to be a fantastic move for the rest of the run. Additionally, making my moveset even better, I get access to Psychic and Saffron. I really can't believe how good Clefairy's moveset is now, and this is on display for the 4th rival fight. You might ask, why not teach Clefairy Bubble Beam? Well, I'm actually just saving it because I think I might need it later. I'd rather preserve some moveset flexibility and teach it then if required. With the rival out of the way, I'm ready to train, and training in the tower is the perfect place for Clefairy. This cute little metronome is a special attacker, and because of that, I want to gain as much stat experience in my special stat as possible. In Generation 1, the way that stat experience works is that when you defeat an opposing Pokemon, the base stats of that Pokemon are added as stat experience to your Pokemon's essentially EVs. So in this case, if I'm knocking out Ghastly, I'm gaining 100 stat experience in Special for every Ghastly that I knock out. It is true that I'm also gaining stat experience for every other stat, but it's not proportional. So in this case, I'm gaining more stat experience in Special for every experience point that I earn. With all of these trainers taken care of, I head over to the Rocket Hideout to pick up the all-important PP Up. I've got to impress my girlfriend after all. And then I grab the rare candy. Erika's up next, and at this point I'm very over-leveled at level 38. I use Body Slam against the Tangela, and it uses Constrict. So, yeah, that move's really bad. It takes me 2 more Body Slams to finally knock it out, and I get a crit with the last one. Metronome levels up to level 39, and then Erika sends out Weepinbell. I use Psychic against it because it's part Poison type. It actually ends up surviving. I thought that it was going to go down for sure. It uses Stun Spore, but it misses, and after that I knock it out with Psychic. So, Gloom's last. This time my Psychic gets a critical hit, and I knock it out in a single hit. So, yeah, Erika, she is really easy. And she gives me Mega Drain as a reward. I head over to Silph to start my training. Here, I actually I was planning on training for a long time before I fought the rival, and then this happened. So yeah, that was really bad. Like, oh, I felt so stupid when I went through that teleporter and just walked right into him. Anyways, I guess I've actually got to go back and fight Erika again. So after that, I've lost about 3 minutes of time with that mistake. Honestly, it's the first reset of the run and it felt pretty bad. It was a pretty big mistake. Either way, I'm going to continue with this run because I can't just like start over again now at this point. This time I'll prepare more before I fight the rival, so I'm going to train in the dojo first because I have Psychic, so that speeds up all of this training. I actually ended up deciding not to fight the dojo master just because of the fighting type Hitmonlee. I think it could be really devastating to Clefairy just because of how slow I am. After that I'm ready to take on Silph and level up as much as possible before I take the rival on again. The rival opens with Sand Slash. I use Ice Beam against it for super effective damage and it faints in a single hit. Next is Ninetales. Honestly, I don't really have a good move here, but fire doesn't resist ice in Generation 1, so Ice Beam's pretty good. It gets a critical hit and takes the Ninetales down to 30% health. After that, it uses Roar again for the second time and then Psychic knocks it out. I'm moving on to Cloyster. I use Thunderbolt against it, it's super effective, but it doesn't knock it out. Butt uses a retroactive potion on it, and then I knock it out the next turn. Kadabra's next. Well, obviously here, Body Slam is the way to go, and it knocks it out in a single hit. Jolteon's last. It uses Double Kick, and it does around 20% damage, taking me down to just over half health. I use Body Slam, it doesn't KO the Jolteon, and it survives with about 30% health. It retaliates with Double Kick, but doesn't get a critical hit, and my next Body Slam finishes it off. So, I've done it. I'm moving on to Giovanni. In this fight I wasn't really worried, but the Nidoqueen does know Double Kick, and it could get a critical hit, so I was a bit concerned that I wouldn't preserve enough health before then to survive. However, in this case I do. The Nidoqueen does use Double Kick, but it doesn't do enough damage, and I knock it out with 2 successive Ice Beams. I head to the Safari Zone next, and pick up some vitamins on my way to grabbing Surf. After that, it's time to face Koga, and here I want to mention a really interesting trick for fighting him, especially if you have a slower Pokemon. So the trainer right in front of him, who has a Hypno, also has Poison Gas on its moveset, and that allows you to get poisoned before you face Koga. In this way, his Venonats can't use Sleep Powder on you and prevent you from attacking. Because if you're already poisoned, they can't poison you again or put you to sleep. This makes the fight much more consistent in the case that I don't knock out one of the Venonat. However, in this case, Psychic gets the job done on all 3 of them. Venomoth's next. It uses Leech Life, does around 10% damage, and then I use Psychic, which does half damage to it and causes a special drop. My next Psychic's all that I need, and I knock out the fighting type bug with ease. Blaine's next, and for this one I'm going to switch over to my live feed because I think it's just going to be much more interesting than any narration that I could do after the fact. So I'm almost 100% sure that I can't beat Blaine at this level, but I'm just going to give it a shot. Like, who knows? I think maybe with some good like paralysis with Body Slam it might actually work, but nope, this is bad. Okay, so this is not going to work. I'm glad I got the paralysis there, but I don't think I have the damage output. Unless I get a crit. Oh my... What was this fight? What was that? Oh my gosh. That was an amazing Blaine fight. Okay. Alrighty then. Now that Blaine's out of the way, I'm ready to move on to Sabrina. Before I take her on, I'm going to collect some more stat experience by knocking out a lot of the trainers that have Slowpoke or Haunter and Ghastly. With that out of the way, now I'm ready to take on the Psychic Master. I mean Mistress. She opens with Abra, and my big question here was if I was going to outspeed it or not. I'm 7 levels higher, so it might be a possibility with stat experience, but in this case it's just not possible. Flash goes down, it lowers my accuracy, and then Body Slam misses. That's really not a good first turn. On the second turn, I move first because of the badge boost glitch from the accuracy loss of the first turn. I move first, use Body Slam, and knock the Abra out. So that's really convenient. Kadabra's next. It uses Psywave first turn and does a pitiful amount of damage. After that, I connect with Body Slam and I knock it out as well. Alakazam's last. Sabrina uses X-Defend, my Body Slam misses, then she uses Psywave and it does more pathetic damage, and then Body Slam finally connects, dealing over half damage to the Alakazam. Then it chooses Psywave again, like I guess she just really wants to use Psywave today, and then my Body Slam connects and Alakazam faints. So I've done it. I'm moving on to Giovanni, the final gym leader in my way. Before I face him, I actually take on the 2 mandatory trainers, and then I take on 1 optional trainer. But overall, I'm feeling pretty confident about the rest of the game just because of how diverse my moveset is. So I fight him right after that without gaining too many more levels. He opens with Dugtrio and immediately just uses a guard spec, so Thanks, Giovanni. I use Ice Beam, it's super effective, and Dugtrio faints with ease. Persian's next. And then Giovanni uses a guard spec again. I use Ice Beam because it has a chance to freeze. It doesn't knock the cat out. He uses Slash, gets a critical hit because it has to. And then I use Thunderbolt to knock it out. Nidoqueen's next. I use Ice Beam. It doesn't knock it out, but then Giovanni uses a guard spec. That's 3 guard specs in a row. And then I knock the Nidoqueen out, leading to Nidoking. And he uses a guard spec on it again. Like, what are the odds of this? 4 guard specs on the first turn with each one of his Pokemon. I knock it out and Rhydon's last. Is it going to be a guard spec too? Well, it's actually not. I just use Ice Beam and knock it out right away. So, I think that's probably the easiest Giovanni fight in recent memory, especially after the fact that I've been using electric types for the last 2 weeks. It's really nice to speed through this one. So the final rival is my last challenge before the league. He opens with Sandslash, and honestly this fight isn't very interesting. I have really great moves against his entire team. Ice Beam is useful against the Sandslash and then the following Execute. After that, he's got Ninetales, but I can use Body Slam against it and knock it out in 2 turns. Cloyster's next. Thunderbolt's great against it, takes it down in 1 hit. Kadabra uses Recover first turn, like amazing choice, and then Body Slam KOs it. And finally Jolteon comes out. I use Body Slam against it after taking some damage from Pin Missile, and then I paralyze the dog. And then on the next turn I outspeed it because of the paralysis and knock it out with Body Slam. So overall a very easy fight. Here's my moves and stats before the league. Honestly, I'm feeling really good about this. Clefairy is a really capable Pokemon, and its learn set is incredible. The moveset of Psychic, Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, and Body Slam is just so incredible. I think that I might need rest if I'm going to struggle, or if I'm going to try to do this at a very low level. However, I really think that I can get through the league with this moveset at my current level. So let's see how it goes. What do you think? Do you think that I can do it? Let's find out. Lorelei's the first challenger, and honestly this is just a test to see if Thunderbolt will do enough damage to KO all of her Pokemon. So, can the Thunderbolt spam do it? Well, it's not quite enough to knock the Dugong out in a single turn. I take a Bubble Beam as a result and then I knock it out on the next turn. Cloyster has a lower special stat, so Thunderbolt can take care of it in a single hit. But Slowbro's next, and this thing is really bulky. I use Thunderbolt, get a critical hit, and with that luck, I'm able to take this tank down in a single turn. Jinx is next. It uses Ice Punch and this could freeze, but it doesn't, and then I use Body Slam and knock it out in 1 turn. Her ace, Lapras, is all that remains. I use Thunderbolt, it's super effective, but the Lapras survives and uses Blizzard. Please not a freeze. It doesn't, and then I use Thunderbolt and KO it. So that's it. I'm moving on to what's next. And what's next is a hiker. So I have a theory about this one. I have a theory of why he's a hiker. So here's the theory. He's a hiker because he doesn't have good AI. All of the Elite Four members seem to have good AI, or at least a really, really strong team like Agatha's team. But in this case, this hiker, he just doesn't have good AI, and that's on display with his Machamp, because if it had good AI, it would use Submission. That is actually part of its moveset, but it doesn't, and I knock it out over 2 turns. Agatha's next. She opens with Gengar, and it uses Substitute right away. So that's really annoying, it's just slowing me down. Second turn, it confuses me with its Ray, and then I use Psychic. It does good damage, but the Ghost survives, and then tries to use Lick. So yeah, Agatha doesn't have good AI either. And then I knock the Ghost out with Psychic. Golbat's next. It uses Toxic and badly poisons Metronome. And then I use Thunderbolt, and it unfortunately doesn't knock the bat out, allowing it to set up Supersonic. So bad poison and Supersonic at the same time. This is not going well. Haunter follows and then immediately gets switched out for Arbok, so that seems kind of silly, and then I just knock it out with my planned Psychic anyways. So back to Haunter, I guess. It uses Confuse Ray, confuses me again, and I hit myself in confusion. Alright, that doesn't feel good. Haunter tries Dream Eater when I'm not asleep. Well done again, not good AI. Ugh, these games. The trainers really just have no idea what to do. I use Psychic, it causes a special drop, and then I knock the Haunter out on the next turn after it attempts to use a Lick again. But my HP is starting to wear away, and I'm around half when the final Gengar comes out. It uses Psychic, and that knocks Metronome out with a critical hit. Okay, so that's my first loss in the league. I guess I gotta try this fight again. So the thing that turns this fight into a lottery is the fact that Agatha really likes her confusion tactics. These are the things that can really mess Clefairy up. So in the next fight, I don't actually get messed up, but the combination of both bad poison and confusion can really do a toll on any Pokemon. And unless you're one-hitting all of her Pokemon, it's really hard to get through this fight consistently. However, with Psychic on my side, this fight isn't going to be hard because she doesn't have good AI. So she's always going to make some mistakes, and then I eventually am going to be able to knock her out. I arrive at the final Gengar, and I've got 69% health left. Nice. Gengar uses Hypnosis first turn, but it fails. I use Thunderbolt and it does about 1/3 damage. Gengar strikes back with Psychic and lowers my special. That's not good. I use my planned Psychic and it does another 1/3 damage. Gengar uses Psychic again and causes a second special drop, and then my Psychic doesn't do enough damage to knock the ghost out. So I've got 13 hit points left, and then Agatha uses a Super Potion. That's so lucky. My Psychic connects, but it doesn't do enough damage. So I guess I just hope that it misses with Hypnosis next turn, but Agatha uses a second Super Potion on Gengar, giving me a chance to use Psychic, and this time it knocks the Gengar out. So I did it, but it felt kind of lucky. I think that if I repeated this fight many times, I'd probably still win a decent number, but I'm excited to explore this one in my consistent league test to see if there's a better approach to it. For now, I'm trying to get the best real-time completion, so I'm headed directly to Lance. Gyarados is first. I use Thunderbolt, get a critical hit, and knock it out right away. Dragonair follows. I use Ice Beam, and I knock it out. The next Dragonair is no different, and that leads to Aerodactyl. So it outspeeds and hits me with a Hyper Beam. But it doesn't do that much damage, and I survive with around 65% health. So that's not that bad. I hit it with Ice Beam, get a critical hit, and the Aerodactyl faints. Dragonite's last. It's slow, Clefairy moves first with Ice Beam, and I take it down with 4 times damage. I'm moving on to the champion. The final test for Clefairy. Sandslash is first. I use Ice Beam and cross my fingers hoping that it's going to knock it out, and it does. Alakazam's next. It uses Psychic, dealing around 35% damage, and then I connect with Body Slam. And it deals so much, but the Psychic Fox hangs on and uses Kinesis, lowering my accuracy. Luckily, my next Body Slam connects, and it faints. Executor the Troll follows, and I use Ice Beam on it, hoping for a freeze. I don't get it, and it stomps me. My second Ice Beam's enough to knock it out, and then Cloyster comes out. Okay, so please Thunderbolt, just hit. It does, and the Cloyster faints. Ninetales is next. And honestly, I don't really have a good answer against it. It uses Quick Attack, dealing 17 hit points of damage, taking me down to just under half, and then I use Ice Beam, get a critical hit, and I freeze it. Yes, this is so good. And then Ice Beam proceeds to miss. Not once, not twice. You think 3 times? Yeah, 3 times. But it also misses a 4th time. And finally on the 5th attempt, it finally hits, and the Ninetales doesn't faint. So I guess I just gotta use Psychic anyways. This time Psychic hits, and the Fiery Fairy Fox faints. Jolteon's last. The Punk Rock Doggo comes out, outspeeds with Thunder, and misses. My Body Slam connects and paralyzes. That allows me to move first on the next turn, and I miss. Jolteon hits Thunder, it gets a critical hit, and Metronome faints. So I've lost my first attempt against the champion. I'll come back and do this one again. Let's see if I can do it on my second attempt, because overall I felt like that fight was pretty good. This time, a major difference that occurs is that the Alakazam doesn't use Kinesis, so that's going to improve my accuracy a lot. No more 4 misses in a row with Ice Beam. Executor comes out next. I hit it with Ice Beam for a critical hit, but it doesn't faint. It uses Leech Seed, but I evade the attack. Ice Beam connects on the next turn and it faints. Thunderbolt connects with Cloyster, but this time it survives and hits Aurora Beam. Luckily, my attack didn't get lowered, and I take it out the next turn. Ninetales is next, and it uses Fire Spin, trapping me for not 1, 2, 3, 4, but 5 turns. On the next turn, it tries to use Fire Spin again, but this time it misses, and Ice Beam connects. I don't get a freeze this time, though. Then it tries Fire Spin again, but again it misses, and this time I connect with Body Slam, paralyzing it. It's fully paralyzed on the next turn, even though it outspeeds, and then Body Slam knocks it out, leading to Jolteon, his ace. It comes out, uses Pin Missile instead of Thunder, and then Body Slam connects, paralyzing it. I outspeed this time with full accuracy, and I take it down. So I've done it. I've beaten Pokemon Yellow in 1 hour, 23 minutes, and 20 seconds with Clefairy. It finished at level 69, nice, and with only 5 resets. It got a game time of 5 hours and 7 minutes. Honestly, I'm really proud of this result. I think that Clefairy did just a fantastic job. But there's still a few things that remain very inconsistent with how I played them in this playthrough. So let's go back and test these fights, starting with Giovanni, to see if I can find more consistent ways to get through each of these fights.
Today, I'm going to test and see if I can actually do it at level 58, and after a couple fights, I realized that the answer is no. One change that I can make right away to improve my odds, even at this level, is by adding Blizzard to my moveset for some extra damage. By doing this, I'm able to win 3 times. Then I get some awful luck against Dugtrio. It uses Earthquake, gets a crit, my Blizzard misses, then it uses Sand Attack, Blizzard misses again, then Giovanni uses his typical guard spec and Blizzard knocks it out. But this leads to a loss as a result just because of my lowered accuracy. In the next fight, I then incur another accuracy-based loss, so I'm really not liking this idea of using Blizzard. Perhaps at a higher level with Ice Beam, I'll be able to do it. However, there's a problem here. Clefairy is still too slow to outspeed the Dugtrio, so Sand Attack still comes in and messes me up by lowering my accuracy occasionally. I considered the option of if I could outspeed the Dugtrio. It has 134 speed, and because I have Koga's badge, I actually get a boost to my speed stat. It's a 12.5% boost from the badge boost, and so I would need 119 speed. So this isn't really possible for Clefairy without a massive level lead. That just doesn't seem like the way that I'm going to win. So let's try this fight now with my signature move, Rest. With it on my side, I'm able to win on the first fight. The second fight I actually lose due to a PP problem, typical, and that's because of Sand Attack. It lowered my accuracy and then I just wasn't able to connect enough. So I get to the ride on and I'm just like, well, I can't do anything now. On the third fight I'm able to win again, but on the fourth fight I lose to the Nidoqueen because of Screech from the Persian. So there's actually 2 things here that is holding Clefairy back. Either Sand Attack from Dugtrio or Screech from Persian. So I'm going to need another approach in order to make this fight consistent. At level 81, Clefairy now has enough speed to avoid Sand Attack, and 81 just makes this fight completely trivial. But that feels like a massive overinvestment of time at this stage in the game. Training up to level 81 to defeat Giovanni just doesn't seem like a good option to me. So another option might be a moveset that includes Reflect and Rest, and I'll try this at my original level. I just need to be careful of critical hits against the Nidos. Even at level 65 though, this isn't working. Sand Attack, Fissure, crits, they're all just taking Clefairy out. The only way to make this consistent would be to outspeed the Dugtrio. And, like I said, I have to do that at level 81. I can't prevent the Fissure or the Sand Attacks to achieve full consistency, so I honestly think that the best way to deal with Giovanni is just try to win with luck. That's going to give you the best real-time completion, and it's going to give you the best game-time completion. If you really want to win consistently every time, say you're playing a solo Nuzlocke, then in that case I would recommend getting to 119 speed on the Clefairy so that you outspeed the Dugtrio. Lorelei is the next trainer that I need to test. I arrive here at level 64 to start, and I almost lose because of lack of health. This was really close. On the second fight I get a luck-based loss because the Jinx hits me with a critical hit. And then the third fight, again health is a big issue. So to solve this I need to go to a higher level. Only 2 levels higher at level 66, I now have enough health to win 5 times in a row, so I'm moving on to Bruno. For him, I'm actually going to use my live footage so that you can see how I film these fights. I hope it's interesting, and I'll see you on the other side. So right here, when the Pokemon comes out, I take a save state. So now I can go through the battle and just jump back to this moment at every single time. I think Bruno is going to be very easy because I have Ice Beam and Psychic. The thing I'm worried about is the Machamp occasionally using Submission, and if it occasionally uses Submission, perhaps I can lose. Okay, so Karate Chop. So that's actually totally fine. So easy first win, and now here I just reset, and now I'm back where I used to be, and I can try again. Okay, here we go. Okay, so even with a submission, Clefairy is able to survive and knock the Machamp out. So I think at this point, I'm pretty confident that this fight is always going to be easy. I'll play it 2 more times just to confirm that I can get 5 in a row, but I was just worried about the super effective stab submission knocking me out in 1 hit, but in this case, it doesn't. Now it's time for, as J-Rose says, the Agatha lottery. And today it really does feel like a lottery, because she's just messing me up with Confusion and Toxic. To solve these 2 problems, I can actually just use Rest, and with this moveset, it's easy to accumulate 5 wins and move on. Lance. Honestly, I probably shouldn't talk about Lance. It's just like, I have Thunderbolt and Ice Beam, and that makes this fight completely trivial. So I'm moving on to the champion. I start this fight at level 69. Nice. Alakazam moves first, and it uses Kinesis. So that's luck-based. It really doesn't feel good. Basically, this is an Alakazam lottery because I'm hoping that it doesn't use Kinesis. And then actually at the end of the fight, I crit the Jolteon, so I guess I got really good luck as well. The problem here though is that there's no option to heal. So I try to add levels to up to level 72 to see if I can do just enough damage to knock out some of these Pokemon more consistently. This still doesn't work though because I can't KO the Alakazam in one hit. That's really annoying. So I decided to revert my level and include Rest to see if I can do it at a lower level. And then I crit the Jolteon again. That's a 7% chance. Alright, whatever. Cloyster crits with Ice Beam, and that leads to a loss on the next fight. So, let's try for level 74 for better damage ranges. Now I can one-hit the Sandslash and Alakazam, two-hit the Executor, and one-hit the Cloyster. Ninetales still takes 2 hits, and then I crit the Jolteon again. What? On the very next fight, Jolteon though gets its revenge and crits me. So Jolteon's just getting these crits way too often because of its speed stat. I need a different approach. I try a new moveset, which is Rest, Mimic, Ice Beam, and Thunderbolt. This is the most Gen 1 moveset of them all. It allows me to steal Earthquake for better damage against the final 2 Pokemon. I also reverted my levels when I did this because I wanted to see if I could win at a lower level. Earthquake doesn't one-hit the Alakazam, but Body Slam didn't either at this level, so that doesn't matter. However, Fire Spin ends my streak on the 4th fight. So I'll try this at a higher level and see if that helps. So finally I arrive at level 78 to finish this off, and honestly, I get 5 wins and I get 1 loss. The problem here is that I can't solve the Kinesis and Fire Spin problem. There's just no way to do it at this level without outspeeding the Alakazam, and honestly Clefairy would need to be in the high 90s to outspeed it. So I think that this is the best that I can do. So now let's summarize my playthrough. I finished the game at level 69, nice, with a time of 1 hour, 23 minutes, and 20 seconds, and that took 5 resets, and a game time of 5 hours and 7 minutes. I didn't solve Giovanni in my consistent league segment, and I started the league at level 66, and that allowed for rare candies all the way up to level 78 for the champion. This felt way easier than Pikachu. Now, I mentioned at the beginning that I would compare this run to Pikachu, so here's the comparison of those stats. This honestly felt way easier than Pikachu. Almost an hour faster in real time, and more than 3 hours faster with game time. 20 less resets, and I finished at a way nicer level. So, Clefairy would have just been a way better experience for a kid starting with Pokemon Yellow as their first Pokemon game. Maybe I'd never have grown close to Butterfree though if this pink little cutie was the mascot. Next week, I'm going to round out the trio of potential Pokemon Yellow starters, and I'm doing an EV playthrough. Honestly, I'm not looking forward to it. If you're wondering why, just check out Eevee's Generation 1 Learn set on Bulbapedia. I think you'll see the problem. Anyways, I'll see you in that video next week. Like, subscribe, bring the Chimecho, and make it happy. Also, leave a comment because I gotta read them all. This video is brought to you by the generous support of my patrons. Thanks for your support and making my dreams a reality. If you've made it this far, you're incredible. I'll see you next time.